Okay, so I want to have a little discussion now that I start every piano class with, without exception. And that question is why the piano? Why does every college have a lot of piano classes and very few other class? Like why are there not five tuba classes? Why are there not five violin classes? Why is the piano such a popular instrument? Why is it such an important instrument? Why does every kid grow up taking piano lessons mostly instead of, taking cello lessons, even though they do? What is it about the piano that is so important and that is so um, special for musicians? What are people's thoughts about this? And there's not really any right or wrong answer, but I like to hear what some of you think.
I feel like one of the things is the visual aspect, because as a trumpet player and someone who plays jazz, going through all like chord changes and stuff, it's really easy to go to the piano and transfer, my music knowledge onto the piano and have that go to the trumpet because like when playing trumpet, you can't see all the notes, um, all the different chords and stuff. Like that's just three buttons. But when you go to the piano, you see everything like out in front of you. And I think there was I don't know if it was Miles Davis or another famous jazz trumpet player. He said that when he would play jazz and improvise, he would visualize a piano in his head. So I think it's just being able to see everything in front of you.
Yeah, there was a lot of gold in there. So before I just talk about that, I just want to open it up to anyone else.
I would say that you don't need to like develop a certain finger strength to start playing right away, like versus a guitar, but you need to like build your calluses. And then I think it's like very versatile. You can play so many different types of music. Um, I don't know. That's what I think.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna touch on both of those. Anything else? I'm still looking for one more thing. Even though both of those are right answers, there's still one more thing. Okay, so yeah, you guys were all right, and there's more than one reason. Um, what Peter said is that it's very visual. What you see is what you get. You don't have to do any special maneuvers to create the sound. The sounds are buttons called keys that are right in front of you. All you have to do is press them down, right? If we were learning violin or tuba, you'd have to spend like 3 months learning how to hold the thing, or how to blow, or how to use your vocal cords, how to hold your hand, before you can even make a decent sound, right? And you have to learn exactly where the notes are. In the piano, it's kind of all laid out in front of you. It's very visual. Okay, so that's definitely one reason. It's in that respect, it's easy. Okay, um, what I would say predominantly is that the piano, more than any other instrument, the piano lets you combine sounds. Okay, the piano lets you play. We have 10 fingers. Okay, there are 88 keys and 10 fingers. So with that, you can make what's known as harmony. And harmony is what happens when you mix notes together with other notes. If you're a singer, and I personally, I think the sound of the human voice is more beautiful than the sound of the piano. I think a lot of instruments are better, are more interesting with their individual tone quality than the piano. But what you cannot do is you can't mix sounds together. You can't create harmony. If you're a violinist, if you're a singer, if you're a trumpet player, if you're a tuba player, you can do a lot of things, but you can only, I mean, there are exceptions, but you can really only make one note at the same time. Okay? And the piano lets you kind of create musical chemistry. It lets you bring a bunch of notes together. Whereas in other instruments, you can do that, except you have to be playing in a large group. You have to be in a band, you have to be in a choir, you have to be in an orchestra. Piano lets you be your whole orchestra with just your 10 fingers. So I'm going to give a demonstration of that now. And I do this at the beginning of every semester. So I think some of you have heard this before. I'm going to play a piece, excerpt of a Chopin piece, and I'm going to play just the right hand. I'm just going to play one part, what's known as the melody. Melody is just one note at a time. When you hear one note, and then you hear another note, and you hear another note. You hear a single pitch. That's what a melody is. A melody is a series of single pitches. So I'm going to play you only the right hand, only the melody part of one song. And then after which I will play everything in completion so you can hear a comparison. So this is it. So if I was a singer or a violinist, that's all I could do. I could play those notes. With piano, I can do this. You can hear a difference, right? For sure, you can hear a difference. One has a lot more emotion. It took previously just a really naked, a really bland kind of melody, and then it breathed life into it by putting in harmony. So generally in music, when you hear one note by itself, it's not music. One note, I mean, it can be. It's what you would whistle or what you would sing. But music in its fullest potential is a lot of sounds coming together, okay? And the piano is, bar none, the best instrument that lets you make all these sounds together yourself, okay? Which is why most pianists tend to be introverts, I think, because you're not dependent on groups of musicians. You're not dependent on being in an orchestra or in a band. Whatever you want to do is all right there. So you can put all sound, you can create sound right in front of you. And then Chloe just wrote in the chat, she said kind of what I was saying. She said, because piano plays well with other instruments. Violin sounds really dry played alone. And for beginners, piano helps them identify notes. Yeah, it goes well with other instruments because it backs up, it provides the harmony. Which is why when singers, when they're playing, and guitar does that too. Guitar, you can create harmony too with chords. Not as comprehensively as on the piano, but when you're playing guitar and singing, you can create chords to go with it. But the piano lets you be your own orchestra, your own choir, your own band, all right in front of you. And for that reason, it's also kind of the composer's instrument. If you want to be a composer, if you want to create music, if you want to understand chords, the science of putting notes together, then there's no better instrument than the piano, because through playing different songs and through studying theory on the piano, you will understand what fits, what works, what goes well together. And that's what harmony is. I know that at Citrus we have a class called Harmony. It's theory and harmony is really just the study of putting notes together, of figuring out chords and which chords go together and which chords don't go together. And the piano is the best instrument for realizing all that on sound. So that's why. And also, it also has the benefit of being a really easy instrument to learn. I don't want to say to master, but to learn. People say sometimes that the piano is the easiest instrument to learn and the hardest instrument to master because there's so much going on. But as far as just physically making sound, pressing your finger down is not that hard. It's very accessible. I remember trying to play clarinet when I was in 6th grade and not being able to play it for like 3 weeks until you learn how to use the right breathing, and you have to suck on the reeds and you have to do all this stuff, right? When you play the piano, You play it, and then you get a sound.